Hey, what's up, guys? This is Brian at Whisper Status 74. Welcome to the community. Welcome to the channel. If this is the first time you are seeing me, please consider liking and subscribing. We are real tech for real people. Today's video will be on the Sony A80J OLED at 77 inches. It's one of my favorite panels this year, perhaps my favorite OLED this year. The reason I want to discuss is that it is a tremendous value, and it will be a better value in the next few days, surprisingly, at Costco. All right, guys, thank you so much for joining me today. I shouldn't say it's a surprise that it's a great value at Costco, as Costco is known to carry value brands and to also have great prices. However, TVs are dictated price-wise by their manufacturer almost in all cases. And in the last number of years, Costco really stopped carrying higher-end panels. You can get them still online. Their e-commerce site isn't great, hard to find certain brands and sizes. For a while there, it was the only place to grab a Quantum XP series from Vizio. That has actually changed. There's barely any Vizios, if any, in the stores near me. But in the last 2 years, they went from carrying C9s to CXs to C1s. And I saw a couple Sony A80Hs in different locations, but not many. But they're back with Sony in full force. We'll talk about the X91, which surprisingly isn't the X90J. But I do want to talk about the A80J, which is there at 77 inches. Price right now at about $3,500. It is going to drop September 29th to $3,000, making it the same price as its direct competitor, the LG C1. Now, keep in mind the Sony A80J launched at about $5,000, took a price drop a few days later. Most retailers honored that price. But for it to drop to $3,000 to have a panel, which is behind me, of this quality at 77 inches at $3,000 is an absolute steal. I love the A80J. It's probably my favorite OLED this year, even though I do have an 83-inch C1, which I love as well. That is a home theater gaming display. But for overall picture quality, I do believe the A90J was the best panel this year. And what I love about the A80J is it's much more affordable and gets you about 90% there in terms of overall picture quality. Same cognitive processor to me, which is the biggest jump that Sony has to offer this year. It's still HDMI 2.1. You can still game on them with consoles and even PC. It does lack a lot of the gaming features that do show up on the LG. And while those updates are promised, I would buy this panel for gaming, for movies, but buy it for what it is right now. And what it is right now is absolutely stunning. It's upscaling, it's phenomenal. Everything on here looks amazing. This is the 77-inch, and it has the shinier finish. It doesn't have the matte finish of the smaller models. To me, that doesn't make a huge difference in picture quality. It does yield, for me, a slightly cleaner image aesthetically and in movies and your everyday viewing. But I think the A80J at 77 inches is absolutely gorgeous. This price drop is amazing, to go from $3,500 down to $3,000, putting it right there with the C1. But more importantly, for those of you that want a C1, chances are it'll push that price down a few hundred. Now we're talking about 77-inch OLEDs, which with the C8, when it launched, were $15,000. And only a few years later, we're talking about $2,800 and $3,000. Now, enough chit chat from me. We're going to walk through the store. I will show you what there is, what Costco has to offer. Quickly, before we go into the store, I want to discuss a little bit about Costco, the pros and cons. The pros, obviously, value. You have to be a member. I think it's $120 a year. But the best pro for Costco is the return policy. You have 90 days, no question asked, and you also have a full year to return a display. You can get the extra warranty. That warranty is more of like a refurbished kind of thing you get with Assurion. I can't remember the name of the warranty. It's an extra $100. Doesn't cover burn-in, so with OLEDs it wouldn't really help you. It's more for damaged panels. But the best part of them is the return policy. The worst part of them was if you could buy one high-end brand, at the time was like the Quantum XP series. If something went wrong with that panel, they really didn't have the variety to choose from. That's not the case here. If you buy the A80J and you don't like it, at least you have the C1 or the C1 and the A80J. You have something else you can go with. The biggest drawback, though, as I mentioned, is lack of variety. And you're going to see this with the X91 and some of the other models. It's not really clear what they are. Are there carryovers from last year? Do they have all the features? There are numbers. They're Q6D, which is a Q6D instead of 60. The Samsung lineup is very confusing. Is it exactly what it says it is? The Sony X91 you're going to see in the video is not the replacement or the X90J. It's actually a 900H from last year with the older processor. So you're not really getting the X90J. So that is a drawback. Very, very confusing even for us, because doing research on that panels doesn't really yield what the specs are. And you might find yourself buying something you think is new, which is last year. And a lot of you guys, for instance, with Sony, you're making your purchases on the 2021 panels primarily for the XR cognitive processor. To find that that new panel doesn't have that processor would be extremely disappointing. So be very careful with that one regard. There isn't a lot of variety, a lot of very entry-level panels there, a lot of IPS panels, which you'll see in the store. But for the A80J, this is an elite model. It is the step down from the amazing A90J. It is the only Sony OLED at 77 inches, and it's an absolutely amazing panel at an amazing price. Let's go through the store walkthrough, and you'll hear me talk more there. All right, guys, here we are. We're going to start with the star of the show, the Sony A80J. You see it here for $34.99. It will drop, I believe, on the 29th to flat $3,000, which again is amazing for a 77-inch OLED. To me, they're the best this year. The best OLEDs from Sony are this year, the A80J and the A90J, mostly due to the new cognitive processor. But it's an absolute steal at $34.99. Keep in mind, 77 inches is gigantic. And even though when you walk around this store, you'll see 86-inch panels, the quality is nowhere near on the same level. You can see the C1 from this side, but the A80J, I use it every day. I game on it all the time. Don't really notice a lot of dimming or problems with ABL, so it's something that I definitely recommend as one of the best all-around OLEDs. Why I consider it the best all-around is it is a better value than the A90J. And gets you almost there picture quality wise. Now here you're seeing a nano cell. Haven't seen many nano cells in Costco. So they are stepping up their game in regards to the amount of panels you can see in variety. For the longest time there, they had no nano, which is again last year's, and first not the QNED, but at least they have them there now. You see a lot of these crystal displays from Samsung littered about. There is the C1 at 65 inches. They also have the 77-inch. I really like this LG kiosk that they have here. Very sleek, very clean. They also have the 48-inch and the 55-inch, which is awesome. There I am pushing a cart. That's how I hide my lingering, as I linger around these stores, trying to be incognito with some ribeyes. $2,099, $3,000 for the 77. Now, we will argue that the reason the prices are so down is that 4K is going away, 8K is here. I've said that, but to me, 4K, you'll be fine for many, many years. 8K is very far away. So the C1 at 3,000, I do feel will have to drop at least a couple hundred. So if you're waiting for the C1, there's the LG A1. the replacement for the BX, I guess. And then this is a lot of these UN90s IPS panels. The problem with a lot of these panels, there's my cart, and these crystal UHD is you have a lot of IPS glow, a lot of flash lighting, no contrast ratio. They can barely show HDR, low color gamut. If these prices are more in line with what you need, this is where I would recommend going online and grabbing yourself a TCL or a Hisense, because I much rather see you get a flagship TCL or Hisense than the very bottom of LG, Samsung, and Sony. As with those higher end brands, you are getting, or lower mid brands with the higher flagship, you are getting full array local dimming, wider color gamut, things of that nature. Now, showing these two even side by side, it's amazing in a store as bright as this one. Everything looks great. Now, my favorite Samsung this year, other than the Q90A, is the QN85. It's an IPS panel. I do not know why this panel looks so good in store, but the QN85 to me is like the punchiest looking Samsung out, other than obviously the QN90A and the QN900A. But there's times in the store where the QN85 looks punchier than the 900 or the 90. So I think it's an excellent panel. It is IPS. The challenge will be, how will it look in store? Sorry about that little hiccup with the audio. My dog was barking outside. But I love the QN90. Now here, real quick, is the Sony X90. Now this panel, FOMO on Tech and I were discussing that it isn't the X90J. It's actually a 900H with the older processor. So it comes out as an X90C. Now, that's just something that I cannot agree with. It looks like it would be the replacement for the X90. It's not like it's super cheap, but be very careful with Costco in that regard. It is a nice looking panel. I like the 900H a great deal, but I really did like the X90J better. To me, it was a brighter, and it just was a better panel in my opinion. And seeing that that's a different panel altogether, it makes no sense to me. And here we're just showing you random displays that are there. Again, a lot of those crystal dynamics from Samsung and the LG IPS panels as well. And there's the Samsung again. Now they also have them littered all over the store. What I like about Samsung is I love that center stand. It is a beautiful design, very sturdy. And then here's one of the Hisense. I wish they would, again, going back to Hisense and TCL, I wish they'd put their flagships in these stores. Vizio was featured in Costco for years. The only place to get a Quantum XP series. Now they're not even in this location at all. Even on the cheaper side, I didn't see any, so. But it's having the A80 there, which there's one there, is tremendous. I mean, it's such a good opportunity to purchase a display and not have to deal with the Best Buys and deal with 15-day return windows. So it's a very good opportunity for you to reach for an OLED. They do have financing too if you're a Costco card member. That might make it easier for you guys. But to me, having all of those advantages didn't really help when they didn't have quality panels there. If you do get the A80, you don't love it, you can always go with here. You have a 55-inch C1. It's back-to-back with a 48-inch. Now, the 48-inch is still relatively expensive. Here's the two prices between them. There's the 55. And then the 48 it's pretty cool. The form factor of the 48 is just very sleek because it does have that gorgeous monitor feel. They're pretty close in price. I don't know why you wouldn't just go for the 55 unless you need the 48. But what's funny about these being expensive, the 48 Sony's, which was the A9S last year, is you actually are paying more for the smaller form factor. Almost like that's a bonus versus a detriment. Now here I'm just showing you a little bit of the sound bars they have there. That's the first Vizio product I've seen. You have some speakers. You have quite a bit here in regards to monitors. So Costco really does have a lot of home automation, alarms, cameras, So pretty cool to be in there, but it really helps that they have these panels back, as last year and maybe the year before, they really got rid of TVs. It was all bare bones. I know BJ's near me has very few panels. They don't have a single panel that I would personally buy. Here's some monitors to show you. They have some gaming PCs. So for Costco, I'm not sure about Sam's Club, or, I know Walmart and those guys on their website, they have this. But Costco is one of the few who actually have them in person. And to also have these larger sizes in store. For a while there with OLEDs, they only had the very small ones. 55-inch was the max. But what I like about this is, again, going into the store with a truck, throw it on a dolly, bring it out to your car, and then you're all set. And then it's that easy to return them if something goes wrong. Being a member, it is no question asked as far as returns. So we're showing you that Sony again. But with these other models, just be very, very careful. That's the one thing I can't harp on enough, is be very, very careful of which one you choose. Showing them side by side. That's the Samsung and the Sony. They look great in these very, very bright rooms, but I'd love to be able to tell you you're definitely getting the X90 and not the 900H. All right, guys, thank you as always. We have much more content coming, much more tech therapy. I want to thank you all for your friendship, for being amazing, and thank you for all you do. Love you guys. Take care.